Hi learners, welcome to Virtual Computer School channel. In this video lecturing, we are going to discuss about one important topic, that is an introduction to database management system. So the database management system, as a computer science student or even non-computer science background students, has to learn about database management system. Okay, so here let's see some of the definition of database management system, and then we'll see some of the introduction. Okay, so how we can understand what is a database and what is a database management system, right? So everything we are going to discuss now. So here the database management system is simply a software. Okay, you know what in way software, right? It is a collection of program or set of program, we can call it. It is something like similar to, we use a Word or Excel. Okay, those also kind of software. Okay, those are general purpose software. And here the database management system also is one of the kind. We generally call it as a software or set of the program that handles the storage, retrieval, and updating of data in a computer system. Okay, so whenever we develop any application, or otherwise we call as a software, or mostly in the present scenario, almost all the software, almost 99.9% of the softwares are using databases. Okay, handling database, right? So for example, if you just go to a grocery shop, a mall, or in a textiles or a showroom or in a restaurant. Okay, so anywhere if you just go there, maybe you can see at least a billing terminal there, a billing computer. Okay, the employee will be making a billing there. He will be using a computer there. Using the computer, they'll give you all the billing. Okay, so even in a medical shop also, right? So it is a kind of billing software. There is implementation of database management system is there. Okay, so generally we'll used to see on the screen, that is all the application or the user interface. But whatever the data, whatever the item that you are getting from the system or in the billing, that has to be stored in the databases. Okay, so maybe if you're studying in a college or in a school, right? So there also your details will be saved in the database, right? Your name, your registration number, okay, then which class you are studying, and then which year you have enrolled, right? So what are the marks you have obtained? So those, all the details will be saved in the database, right? So here in the present scenario, as I said, the implementation of database management system you can see everywhere, right? So that's why it has very significant in studying this particular subject, right? So even the career also, suppose you can choose as a developer in your career. That is one possibility, or otherwise you can work in the database management system. Okay, you can design a database and you can design table, right? There are architectures are there, so you can work in fully in database management system also, right? So generally in the software industry, they call it as a backend. Okay, whatever the database they use, generally they use the term backend. Okay, there are front end and back end. In the back end, they'll be using different kinds of databases. Okay, so there is a plenty of job opportunities in this area also, right? So now let's discuss about some of the introduction points related to database management system. Where are the applications of database management system in the real world or in the present scenario? So these are the major areas just I have mentioned here in this slide, but it is not restricted or limited to this particular area. As I said, you can see the implementation or applications of database management system everywhere. Okay, so almost hardly you can find very few simple program or simple software just you can use without a database management system. Okay, so even if you just go to a simple shop, there if they are doing any billing, they're using databases. Okay, if you are going to a small medical shop in the building, they are also using databases. Okay, so starting from a single machine, and in the big shopping mall or big complex, okay, or in the IT industry or in the institutions, colleges, everywhere you can see the applications of database management system. Okay, even you would are familiar with kind of online shopping. Some of the famous online shoppings are there. Okay, so Amazon, Flipkart, so those type of even those applications also using databases, right? So just these are some of the list of databases where the databases are used in the particular areas. Banking, especially banking, all ATM. Okay, so everything we use banking and credit card transaction and healthcare insurance, right? So these all mostly self-explanatory, so no need to go into very much very detail in these applications. So healthcare and then insurance, hospitals, insurance companies, okay, and airlines, train reservation, bus reservations, okay, and then social networks like you have the Facebook and Twitter, and then other social networks are there, even other all sort of internet based application. And these databases are used in university, all education institutions, telecommunication, finance sectors, okay, so in the day-to-day share markets and all sort of finance related companies, and e-commerce, okay, so electronic commerce, where you use the internet-based application for promoting the commerce, like your uh, shopping websites, okay, then supermarkets and all the shops and online shopping and sales, manufacturing industries, all big industries, okay, and then human resources. So even the government or even in the companies also, they'll be using databases to maintain their human, that is employees. Okay, and even you can see the implementation or application of database management system in agriculture nowadays. Okay, there are a lot of utilization. There are usage of database management system in agriculture sector also, and space research, military. Okay, so then weather forecasting. So you can have plenty of areas, domains where the database management systems are being used. Okay, so then, so what are the database management system examples? So in the we said already it is a software. Uh, Even we are going to discuss more on database management system in the subsequent slides, in the next few slides. And before that, just what are the available database management systems are available in the today market? Okay, Oracle, they have many versions of database management system. Microsoft SQL Server, right? Microsoft Access, right? So MySQL. So there are certain databases, or you can get it free, open source, and there are other database management system software we need to buy with proper license. Okay, so MySQL, DB2, every place, FileMaker, Teradata. There are there are a normal database management system is also there, and there are certain databases you can use it for advanced application. Okay, so like your cloud and then big data environment, right? So these are the advanced topics we are maybe we'll discuss it later. And here Teradata, Cloudscape, right? Then DB2 is IBM product, and then Informix, PostgreSQL, Object Store, Datacom. So there are plenty of database management system softwares also available, right? So maybe just you can install the software in the system or on the server based on requirement, and then you can use it for your convenient. Okay, so you can just see some of the brands here: Teradata, and then SQLite, MySQL, right? And then Foxtrot. In the olden days, in the database management system, it was used in very small purpose, like very limited features. Lotus 123, that is spreadsheet. Okay, so Foxbase, Foxpro. So those type of software are also used. That is, those are all not really the database management system. It was the it has some very less features, right? So nowadays we are using very sophisticated and advanced databases. Okay. So in the database management system, basically how we can classify, okay, it is based on the usage, right? Suppose if you are using a database management system for in a single computer or in a single laptop without sharing to anybody, and then you can call it as a single user database management system. Okay, it is all standalone computers. We call as a standalone computers, okay, or desktop database system. And suppose if your database is being shared by more than one user, uh, then we can call it as a multi-user, right? That is also possible. A single database can be shared by more than one user. So for example, if you are studying in a college, your results and all everything will be published from your university. Okay, so there you will be accessing at the time of result or at the time of saving your mark, everything you'll be accessing the particular website, and then from there you'll be accessing your data. Okay, that is all multi-user, right? So maybe online shopping, everything we can you can think of in the multi-user environment. There you have the work group database system and then enterprise database system. Some of the databases are used in the enterprise level or in the organization or company level. Okay, suppose a company is running in multiple places. They are having more number of branches. Okay, so in all the branches, whatever the data is generated in all the branches, they can have a centralized database or they can have their own set of databases. Okay, so it is all everything. It's based on how you want to utilize or use your data as well as your database management system. Okay, so what is the scope? Desktop related type of database management system is individual. That is, only one person will be using your database. And work group, maybe a group of people will be using the database management system in the shared environment. Okay, or otherwise a centralized database system. Okay, right? Enterprise level, maybe a group or more than a group of people or different locations you can use your databases. Maybe suppose if you're running a company, the company will be having many department. Okay, so like your purchasing department, sales department, marketing department, manufacturing department, finance department. Okay, so there are many departments are there. Then those department will be using your complete data based on the requirement. Okay. And what are the categories of database management system we can classify? So it's also very simple to understand. Suppose if you are working in the desktop databases, Microsoft Access, Foxrow, FileMaker, Paradox, Lotus. This is all in a simple version of your database management system. And this you can use in the desktop environment. That means in the single system, single computer. Okay. Then if you want to work in the centralized or server-based database environment, where multiple user can use your databases, Oracle is providing. Oracle Server is there, and then Microsoft SQL Server, IBM DB2, open source MySQL, Firebird, and PostgreSQL. Okay, these are some of the examples. Apart from this example, also you have many database management systems are there on both the side. Okay, then so just we'll talk about the how the generic database management system environment will be working. Okay, so here the database management system generally, this is actually our database management system. It is a software which actually interacted from any application. For example, if you are going to a grocery shop for billing, the billing application might have developed using any particular language, maybe a Java or VB, okay, so or Python or whatever the language they use to develop the application with a graphical user interface, and then whatever they are seeing on the screen, and then those type of application you can use it to interact with your database management system. And then even you can interact with the other database management system as a interaction point. Okay, then in the database management system, it is possible to for the users to directly interact with the database management system using some SQL queries. SQL queries we are going to talk about later. The query language generally we use in the database management system environment. Okay, that is structure query language. And this is what your exact databases or your exact data will be residing. Okay, all your table, database, everything we are going to discuss now. So the exact data will be residing in the storage area. So this storage area may be of type of relational databases, hierarchical database, flat file database, or object database. So there are different type of data models you can create. What is a relational database and what is hierarchical database? So that we are going to study in detail in the data models. Okay, so now just this is for your understanding, right? So in which particular location or which particular layer we are using in the using the database management system. And in this diagram also you can see it's a very simple generic architecture. Users and program, you have the database system, and you will be interacting with the real database software from your application or from the queries. Queries is your SQL queries. Okay, so here DBMS software. Here mainly it is just going to process whatever the request is given from the user and from the based on the queries. Okay, so this will be processed and you are going to access the data from the real data storages. Okay, so where your exact data is being stored. Okay, stored database definition and stored databases. So there are different aspects we'll be having in the database management system. We call it as a metadata. So we are just going to talk about in more in detail in the other subsequent slide. For now, what you can do, just what are the description and then data that are about your table and then databases, everything will be stored in the metadata format. That is data about data. Okay. And so there are different layers we can use your database management system. The one-tier architecture, generally we call as a one-tier architecture when you are using your database and your entire application in a single machine. Okay, so the database is also not shared and then your application is also not shared. Okay, so everything is in a single computer. If you're using, then we call it as a one-tier architecture. Okay, this was the initial point where the people started using the database management system. So now it is very hardly you can find this type of architecture. Okay, so nowadays most of the database management system implementations are in the other at least two-tier architecture or the three-tier architecture. Okay, so in this one-tier architecture, everything, that is what is the presentation logic. The presentation logic is the user interface. That is whatever the screen or whatever the control and everything that you are seeing on the screen. Okay, suppose if you happen to see any grocery shop application, there you can see on the screen there will be a list of items and then the MRP and then what is the discount. Okay, total billing, everything you can see on the screen. Okay, so that type of screen design we call as a presentation logic. And then the business logic. So whatever the data you are feeding from the presentation logic, those data will be forwarded to the business logic for some calculation purpose. Okay, for example, if the grocery shopping bill, suppose if you enter a particular item called a soap, okay, a bathing soap, and the bathing soap one quantity will be having certain amount, for example 50 rupees. Okay, so if you buy 5 soaps and you have to do some calculation, right? So 5 into 50, so 250 should be calculated as a total amount. Okay, so those type of the programming code will be residing in the business logic that will be performed once it is getting the data from the presentation logic. Okay, at the same time the business logic will be functioning based on the already available data. Okay, so here how you'll know the price of the particular soap. So that particular soap price is been already stored in the database by some other user. Okay, so in the grocery shop there will be people, they'll be feeding the data before it come for the sales. Okay, before it placed on the rack, the whatever the goods they are getting, so those entire data will be stored or feeded in the database. Okay, so that particular data will be referred at the time of purchasing. Right, so this type of thing you can just understand how it is working in the one-tier architecture, but everything is put together. That is presentation logic, business logic, data access logic. So data access logic is actually your queries. Okay, so the data, the real data is residing in your database, right? So all the 3 layers on the same machine, that is presentation, logic, and data layers are there. Scalability, so there is no scalability here because only one processor and only one user is using. And portability is also somewhat difficult, because suppose if you change anything in the presentation logic, and if you change anything in the business logic, that will affect the entire thing. Okay, even it is very difficult to change your database schema also, database design also. Okay, so then if it is maintenance also somewhat difficult in this one tier architecture. Suppose, because if you touch anything in this particular application, if required, you have to do modification in most of the other layers also. Okay, and here this is actually a two-tier architecture where your database system is separated from your application. For example, here it is actually connected by means of a network. Maybe you can imagine this one user and then application will be running in one computer, and your database is residing in the another computer. Okay, so suppose if you go to a big grocery shop, there will be, for example, 5 billing systems are there, and all the 5 billing system will be connected to the single database system. Okay, so whatever the billing they are taking, all the data they are taking from the single database, right? So there we just follow two-tier architecture. That is, the layer wise we are splitting. Okay, the user and then application will be residing in one system, will be running in the one system, and then whereas your database, entire database and then data, everything will be residing in one system. Okay, so this system will be connected by means of a communication network. Okay, then here the three-tier architecture, still we are splitting again. The presentation tier will be in one particular layer or one set of system, and then application tier will be running in one set of system, and then data tier is running in the other system. Okay, so here the layer is this one, the presentation tier will be running in one particular set of computers, and the application tier or the server, we generally call it as a server. This server will be running in another set of location or other set of machine, and then data will be completely residing in other location. Okay, so if you split the entire 3 layers in different different layer or different places, then we are going to call it as a 3-tier architecture. Okay, there's another diagram to understand where you can use your database management system in the client server. Generally, we call it as a client and server architecture. Okay, so here end users will be having internet and then application program, and then there are different machines application programs are running. So those application program by means of network, they are connecting with the database management system. This database management system will be interacting with your actual data. Okay, so this will be something like your an interface between your exact application and your the exact data. Okay, so where you have saved your data, right? Then we'll see some of the fundamentals about database management system. So the important terms. Okay, we are going to talk about the more important terms later in the other upcoming slides. But for now, to understand what is exactly a data, what is the information, what is a database, and what is a database management system. Okay, so in this slide you can see the data, generally we call it as a known fact, okay, or raw fact that can be recorded and can have implicit meaning. Okay, for example, if you have your registration number, your name, and then your phone number, okay, so only that if you have, then you can call it as a data, right? So maybe your email ID or your address, right, or your date of birth, whatever, right? So it will have only one raw fact. Okay, so that we call as a data, right? And how you can convert it to a information, right? So generally we say when you process your data, that becomes the information. Okay, there is a slight difference between data and information. Data is a raw fact, so it is only have the exact meaning of your data. And for example, registration number 001. So 001 is the data. Okay, and if you are processing that particular value with some SQL query, and suppose we are getting some result, and that will become your information. Okay, so data will be converted into information when you are processing your data. And database is a organized collection of logically interrelated data, or otherwise we can call it's a group of tables. Okay, generally when you're creating your databases, you'll be having more number of tables. Okay, it's based on, again, based on your database design, based on your application. Okay, so here in the group of or interrelated data, you'll be connecting. okay, or you'll be creating as a database, right? So now database management system, we already said what is a database management system. It is a collection of program or a software that enables user to create and maintain a database. So it is actually connecting with your database, right? So from the user and to the database, it is actually working as an intermediate tool. Okay, it is all a software, right? And here a database table, and these are the table you can create. Okay, so this what we call as a table. Okay, so in the table will be in the form of rows and columns. Okay, table will be in the form of rows and columns. So here the columns will be in the vertical direction. Okay, the columns. So whatever you see here, agent code, agent name, working area, and then commission, phone number. Okay, this is all called as a column or field or otherwise attribute. Okay, there are different names we use. Okay, so field you can call as a field, you can call it as an attribute. Okay, then you can call it as a column also. Okay, then the horizontal wise we call it as a record. Okay, the entire thing. For example, A007 and then ROM Sundar Bangalore 0.15 and then phone number. Okay, the entire detail you save in the table, we can call as a record. Okay, so here the column names are given. This is all the column name or the field name, and you have the record. Okay, so each row will be called as a record here, right? So this is how we generally create a database table, right? See, this is one more example to understand a employee table. Okay, so here you can in the data. Here you can see the ID, first name, last name, gender, job title, department, room, and then so all the the field names are given. Okay, so this all the there are 12 records are there. Okay, we call this a record here. The entire thing is a record. Okay, so this one is the attribute or a field. Okay, department is an attribute of your employee table. Okay, job title is one of the attribute or property of your employee table. Okay, so likewise, you can create a table. And this is another relational table when you're going to create more number of table. Okay, so obviously in a real scenario, when you're going to design a database for your application, you'll be having more number of table. Okay, this for example, store, product, and sales fact. There are three tables are there. So in the relational model, what you are going to do, you will be relating one table with the other table with the a particular specific key values. Okay, so we use the key also in the table, right? So here we apart from the normal database management system, we also call this relational database management system. Okay, or DBMS, we call this or DBMS, right? So nowadays, whatever the database management system we are using, that is all by default relational database management system, right? So here, why we are calling it as a relational database management system? Because it actually uses mainly a relational model. We call it a relational model, right? So in the relational model, like you can relate or you can make a relationship from one table with the other table. Able to understand, right? So for this reason, we call as a relational table, right? So in this example, you can see the store key is being given in the sales fact table as one of the column or one of the attribute, and here from this product table, product key is also given in the sales fact table. Okay, so here when you want to access the data from both the table, with the help of these two keys, you can access, you can combine, right? You can relate the table content, that is you can relate the records. Okay, so that's why in the first table, if you say store key, if you are using this as a primary key, and here in this table if you are using product key as a primary key, these two keys will be working as a foreign key in this in the third table. Okay, so we are just going to talk about different type of keys also. And other important database terminologies, data we already spoke about, it is a known raw fact. And database is an organized collection of information or collection of table or collection of logically related data. Okay, and then database management system is a collection of program or a software to maintain a database, right? So all sort of manipulation and management, everything will do with the database management system. And RDBMS, software for inter-table relations. That's why we just spoke about RDBMS. So you are just going to make a relationship between one table with the other table. And generally a table organizes the data into rows and columns. Okay. And what is a record? Row of a table is called as a record, and then field is a column of a table. Okay. Then tuple. This is another term we use here, tuple. That is ordered set of data constituting a record. Or otherwise, simply what you can see, a set of records in a table, you can call it tuples. Okay. Then primary key. So we use the term primary key. The primary key, when you create your table, there are certain attribute should have a unique values. Okay, unique value in the sense there should not be any duplicated values. Okay, for example, if your registration number, if you take your registration number will be a unique number, right? So suppose if you take maybe your date of birth, or your even for example your email ID. Okay, the email ID is also a unique one, right? So if you're creating any unique value, maybe a employee ID or a student ID, okay, or even book ID, right, or a particular item ID, anything you can create, right? And then foreign key I told you. So suppose if your primary key or any other particular unique key if you are using in the other table, that can be used as a foreign key in the other table, that is in the next table. So one more columns in a table intended to contain only values that match the related primary or unique key. Okay, that we discussed in the previous slide. Okay, so one more thing, we use query, right? So generally in all the database management system, a general query language is used, that is SQL. Okay, SQL, that is structured query language. Okay, so in the structured query language we'll be using, or we use the SQL language to interact with the databases. Okay, all sort of interaction causing some data to be retrieved. Okay, so in the databases, what generally we'll be doing, we'll be storing whatever the data into the database or in the table, and when it is required, you are going to retrieve or take the data from the database or from the table. Okay, suppose if you want to do any changes or any updation or any sort of manipulation that should be done in the database or in the table, we can do with the help of the SQL queries. Okay, so all sort of manipulations, right? There are mainly three things. You'll be storing and you'll be retaining the data, and you are performing some manipulations. Okay, all sort of changes, right? So everything we'll do with the help of the query language. So based on the type of work that we do in the databases, we categorize the query language into this categories, that is this type: DDL, DML, DCL, and TCL, right? Data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language, and transaction control language. Okay, so combinedly, when you have all the query languages, state commands, SQL commands, we generally call as a SQL query. Okay, the SQL query itself, based on the purpose, based on the utilization, you can categorize. Okay, based on the purpose, if it is meant for only for data definition purpose, you can classify as data definition language. If you are using the set of SQL queries for manipulation purpose, you can say it is a data manipulation language. Okay, so also just a classification based on the utilization. And metadata also we already spoke about. Database definition or descriptive information, or simply to understand what is a metadata, that is what are the data you are storing in the table or in the database. So those data about data, that means there will be some set of data you have to store about the actual data that you are saving in the databases. Okay, and the one more example here, these are the attribute. You have the schema. One more term we use here. Schema is one of the important term in the database management system. Schema is just describing the structure of your table. Okay, it has all the information. Okay, so what is the data type? What is the attribute or the column or field name? Okay, what is the data type used? Right. So, and whether the particular data or the column field value is a primary key or a non-primary key. Right, so all the details will be saved in the schema, right? It is a descriptive or description or structure of your table. Entire structure and description about your table will be saved in the schema. Okay, so this is one more example where you can just relate your table, 3 different table. Okay, this is also one of the other example to understand the relational model. And see, what is the purpose of database management system? So as we discussed, there are no few important purpose we can address here. A database management system is a software tool that makes it possible to store and organize data in a database. The main purpose is to store your entire data in the database and to organize it. Okay, so how it is sorting or how it is to be stored. Okay, what are the data should be stored in which place, everything we can do with the help of the database management system. Okay, then it provides users with a systematic way to create, retrieve, update, and manage the data. This is the very important role that we avail from the database management system. You can create a table or a database, okay, and you can retrieve that data from the table or from the databases, right? Retrieving means what? So you are just fetching the data from the table and then updating. Suppose if you want to change or if you want to update the existing data, if you want to do any changes with the existing data, you can do updation also. And you can manage the entire data. That means managing in the sense all sort of data manipulations you can do in the databases. Okay, so the other point is it is actually acting as a middleware between the database which stores all the data and the user. Okay, so middleware in the sense it will be acting as an interface or a kind of tool which between your exact database and to the remaining users. Okay, so for example, if I am using one application, I'll be interacting only with the user interface or only with the application. Okay, and this application, whatever the code I have written, those from the code or from the SQL statement, I am making use the database management system to get the data from the database or to store the data to the databases. Okay, whatever the sort of manipulations I want to perform with the database, I can do only with the help of the database management system. Okay, so a database management system can limit what data and end user sees as well as how data end user can view the data. So maybe suppose if you work in the database management system, you can see the table or you can see as a result. Okay, so you can see the view. That means in what perspective you want to see, you can use your database management system to see that particular view. Okay, so there are different views you can see in the database management system. And here to store, what are the important role of your database management system? What the purpose? To store and transform data into information. So general, whatever the data is there, that you are going to convert as a information. So just you are going to say it as a information. Okay. So for example, if your train number and then train name and then date, everything is there in the database. And if you are going to make it as an information, then you can say this particular train number and then the train name is going to start from this particular station at this particular point of time. Okay, that is what the information. Okay, so to organize the data in the form of table, schema, and report forms. So these are the database management system understandable format. Will be arranging the data so that the database management system can easily understand. Okay, so to provide the security of data, you can give much security of your data. That is, you can safeguard your data. And data independence, that is, you can isolate one set of data with the other set of data with the help of the database management system, and you can efficiently access the databases or the data. Okay, so we have the sophisticated SQL statements are there. With the help of the SQL statement, you can access the data efficiently, and you can even provide the data integrity and security. So security we already spoke about. Data integrity, that is, you can integrate different categories and different types of data into a single unit. Okay, maybe sometimes you will be getting the data from different sources also. Okay, so different types of data, different sources of data, everything you can combine into a single unit. You can integrate, right? So okay, so data administration, so entire database can be easily administrated. Okay, so those type of provisions and those type of functionalities will be available in the database management system. And concurrent access and crash recovery. So concurrent access will be using only in the multi-user environment. So that we will discuss later. That is concurrency control, right? It is nothing but the simultaneous access. Okay, so if multiple users are using the same set of data, there is a possibility that multiple users will be using the same data at the same time. Okay, so that should be avoided, right? So we'll discuss more on this particular topic later. And crash recovery, suppose if your database or if your table or the entire system crashes, or if any problem with your system, then it is, you can easily recover it. Okay, there are different techniques out there. And reduce application development time. So since all the facilities, table creation, database creation, relationship making, okay, so data storage, right? So even if you store huge volume of data, for example, if you store 1 lakh record, and managing the 1 lakh record will be very easy when you use your database management system. Okay, so that type of facility you can get. So you will be concentrating only on the developing your application, not the entire database activities, right? So data redundancy. So maybe duplicated data can be avoided, and then data can be shared. So this another advantage you can have in the database management system, especially when you're using in the server environment. You can share your data in the multi-user. Okay, so we already spoke about multi-user, where you can share your data with the multiple users. Okay, so it is actually again providing backup and recovery. So whatever the data you want to store or take it as a backup, you know what it means backup, right? So for safeguarding or to taking it as a maybe sometimes what you'll do, if if any problem, if there is a possibility for any problem with your system or anything, then what you do, you will take a backup. Okay, so you will just have a copy of it, right? So in that, in that sense also, the database management system is very much useful. Okay, so far we have discussed the main important introduction, that is what is a database management system, what are the important terminologies are used. Okay, so what is a database, what is a table, how you can create a table, what is the purpose of the database management system. So everything we have discussed. Okay, thank you. Hi learners, please subscribe to my channel and also press bell icon for latest video updates. Please do not forget to like, comment and share. Thank you.